Hi guys, welcome to lesson 30-1, solving rational equations. Today you will need the lesson 30-1 note sheet that is posted in Google Classroom, and you'll want a pen or a pencil and your calculator. Our learning targets for today are that we are going to be able to solve rational equations by cross-multiplying and solve rational equations by using the LCD, so two different methods for solving. Okay, so the first one is when you just have two fractions and they are set equal to each other, we are going to cross multiply. So hopefully you've heard of that before. We'll distribute if necessary, and we'll solve the resulting equation for x, and then we will check for extraneous solutions. Okay, so let's go ahead. First step is we have a rational expression set equal to another rational, so we are going to cross multiply. So that's going to look like this. Whoop. So it's the x plus 4 times the 5, or I would write it like this here. And then the 3 times the x plus 5. So that is step 1. We're going to distribute. That's step 2. So 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 4 is 20. 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times 5 is 15. Now we are just solving this equation for x, so I would subtract this 3x over and be left with 2x. And then I would subtract this 20 over, and be left with 15 minus 20 is negative 5. Okay, so then my final step to get x by itself would be to divide by 2 on both sides. So we get x equals negative 5 over 2. And then our last step is to check for extraneous solutions. So I would just plug that into your calculator to double check. So I'm literally going to do that. I have my calculator nearby, and I'm plugging in negative 5 divided by 2 plus 4. And then divide that by negative 5 divided by 2 plus 5. And then you should be good to go. So we end up getting the 3/5 that we want, and so we are good to go. That is going to be our final answer. Okay. All right. Okay, next problem here, we're going to do the same thing. So it's a fraction set equal to a fraction, so we will cross multiply here. So we have, again, 4 times x plus 4, so I'm going to write it this way so we can distribute easily. And we have 8 times x, or 8x. So let's distribute. Whoops. So 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 4 is 16. And it's set equal to 8x. I'm going to go ahead and subtract this 4x over. And I'm left with 16 equals 4x. I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides. And I'm left with 16 divided by 4 is 4. So I'm left with x equals 4. So now, again, if I plug that in, 4 plus 4 is 8 over 4. 8 over 4 equals 8 over 4. So yes, we are good to go. Okay. All right, so you're checking for those extraneous solutions, because let's say if we were to plug something in that got a 0 in the denominator, or it did not make the equation true, then that would be extraneous. Okay, so I want you guys to go ahead and pause the video here to try this next one. Okay, hopefully you paused, you did your cross multiplying, and I just rewrote this one as x plus 5 over 1, and that's how I did the cross multiplying. Okay, so then I did x squared minus 4 times 1, which is just x squared minus 4. And then I did x plus 1 times x plus 5. Now that one is going to get you an x squared when you actually multiply that, because remember you need to FOIL or box method. So x times x squared, x times 1, 1x, 5 times x, 5x. So add those together. That's where this 6x came in. And then 5 times 1 is 5. So we had to FOIL that. But then when we go to subtract the x squared over, these cancel. So you're left with 6x plus 5 equals negative 4. And just subtract that 5 over. So 6x equals negative 9. And then divide by 6 on both sides, and you should get x equals negative 3/2. Okay, so if you didn't get that, again, pause the video, work your way through, and try to find your mistake. Okay, also, I did plug this one back in, and you can just do that in your calculator. But if you plug this back in for your x values, you should get these being equivalent to each other. So you do need to check that it's not extraneous. Okay. All right, one more for you guys to try like this. So go ahead, you have x plus 3 over 2 equals 5x. So try that one out with your cross multiplying. Okay, so in this one, you're doing x plus 3 times x and 2 times 5. So when you distribute, you end up getting x squared plus 3x and then set equal to 10. Now, because of that x squared, it does not cancel with any other x squared. So you have to subtract the 10 over. Then you have a trinomial. So you have to factor. So you factor that and you get x plus 5 and x minus 2. Set them equal to 0 and solve. You get x equals negative 5 and x equals 2. I actually plugged both of those back in for x here and here. And in the first one, negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. Over 2 is negative 1. And then 5 over negative 5 is also negative 1. So that one works. Then if you plug in 2, 2 plus 3 is 5, 5 over 2. And if you plug in 2 in the other one, it's 5 over 2. So both of these end up working. So no extraneous solutions still. Okay. So that's the first type of solving that we need to do when we have a fraction set equal to fraction and we can cross multiply. Okay. Now, the next type of problem we will see is 3 fractions, and these get a little bit harder because you need to have an LCD. Remember, to add or subtract, you need that. So the first thing you're going to want to do is find that least common denominator, and then you're going to want to multiply everything by the LCD to make sure the denominators cancel, and then you'll want to distribute that to the numerator as well. Then you'll just be dealing with the numerators. You can simplify, solve the resulting equation, and check for extraneous solutions. So luckily for us, this first one, x minus 1, x minus 1, x minus 1, they all already have that common denominator of x minus 1. So right away we can get rid of that. And we're just looking at the numerators, which is 2 plus x plus 4 equals 2x. And now we're just solving that. So I would combine like terms here. So the 2 and the 4 is going to be x plus 6 on this side equals 2x. And then we're solving for x, so I'm going to move this over. So I end up with 6 equals x. Again, check for extraneous solutions. So I would plug that back in. So it'd be 2 over 6 minus 1, so 2 over 5. 6 plus 4 is 10 over 6 minus 1, so 10 over 5. And then 2 times 6, which is 12 over 6 minus 1. So yes, that would be 12 over 5 equals 12 over 5. So that is good to go. Okay. Awesome. Let's try another one that does not have the same common denominator to begin with. So we have x, x plus 2, and x times x plus 2. So in this case, you have to look at what they have in common. So these two both have the x, so that's going to be part of your LCD. And then these two both have the x plus 2, so that's going to be part of your LCD. So now you basically just need to figure out like what's missing. Okay, so in this first fraction, we have the 1 in the numerator, and then for the LCD, it just has the x. So we need to multiply that numerator by the x plus 2. Okay, then we have subtraction, and then in the numerator we have 2x, and then we just have the x plus 2 in this one, so we're missing the x. So I'm going to multiply this by x, and then set it equal to the numerator, which is x minus 6. And then look at your denominator. This has the whole thing, x times x plus 2, x times x plus 2. So we don't need to multiply that by anything. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and simplify. So 1 times x and 1 times 2 is just going to be x plus 2. Minus 2x times x is 2x squared equals x minus 6. Okay, so we're going to have to simplify a little bit here. So I'm going to move everything to one side because of that x squared. So it's going to be negative 2x squared. Then I would subtract over the x. And so if I do that, those are going to cancel on both sides. And then I would add over this 6. So that's going to be plus 8 equals 0. Now I can take out a 2 or a negative 2 here, and I will be left with an x squared minus 4. So that's nice because in this one, we know x squared minus 4, that's a difference of 2 squares. So I can write that as x plus 2, x minus 2. And if I set those equal to 0, I'm going to get x equals negative 2 and x equals positive 2. Okay, now I do need to check for extraneous solutions here. Okay, and I can tell right away that if I plug in this negative 2, that's going to be an issue right here. Because if I plug in this negative 2, or right here, if I plug in a negative 2 plus 2 is 0. And that would give me a 0 in the denominator, and that can't happen. So this one is extraneous, but this one should be good to go. And you could check that by plugging into your calculator. Okay. All right, awesome. Then we have 2 more, and I'm just going to let you guys pause the video and try these out, and then I'll give you the answers. So hopefully first you came up with the correct LCD, x times x minus 4. And then you were able to solve. You have to multiply the first one by x, and then the second 2 by the x minus 4. So that's what I did in this first line here. And then I just distributed and simplified. So distribute. And then I combined like terms. And I was left with, so when I combined x and 5x, I had 6x. And negative 4 and negative 20 was negative 24. So then I just moved my x's over. And I was left with a negative 4x equals negative 24. And I divided by the negative 4 to get x equals 6. And if you plug that back in here, you get 6 minus 4 is 2 in the denominator, so 2 over 2 is 1. And then here you would get 1/6 plus 5/6, which those fractions would also equal 1, because it would be 6 over 6, which is 1. So that's why this one does work out. It is not extraneous. Okay. Then very last one for today, go ahead and pause and try this one out. First come up with your LCD, then solve. So hopefully for your LCD, you got x times x plus 1. And that is actually what this second one, the second denominator does factor to be, x times x plus 1. The first fraction is just missing the x plus 1, so I multiplied that. And the second fraction is missing nothing, so I just wrote that out, the numerator. And then the third fraction is just missing the x, so I multiplied by that. Okay. Then from there, I had to distribute. And I had to combine like terms. So x minus x, those canceled. And then 1 minus -1 became a 2. And then when I distributed over here, I had x squared minus x. So then I was left with 2 equals x squared minus x. I moved the 2 over so that I had a trinomial. I set that equal to 0 and factored, and I got x minus 2 and x plus 1 equals 0. And then I solved those and got x equals 2 and x equals -1. I checked real quick, and if I plug in -1 here, again, that's going to give us a 0 in the denominator because -1 plus 1 is 0. So that's why this one is extraneous, cannot be, but the 2, that works, so that would be your final answer. Okay? So these problems can be a little bit tricky. They do take some time. So if you need to, watch the video again. Otherwise, we will do some practice in class tomorrow. And let me know if you have any questions at all. Okay? Have a good one. Bye-bye.